Hello beautiful people. So today inshallah we are going to introduce a new module of English studies which is named Introduction to Linguistics. And inshallah in this video it is going to be just an initiation to what is linguistics, what are the goals of linguistics, and what are the major branches of linguistics that you are going to study in S4. The first question that will arise in your mind is, what is linguistics? Linguistics can be defined as the scientific study of human language, meaning that is a comprehensive, systematic, objective, and precise study of language. This term means, when we talk about linguistics, we mean, or you can say refers to, the studying of the principles of languages. For example, in its syntactic and morphological terms, phonetic terms, and so on. So when we talk about linguistics, means the studying of language in general. Linguistics encompasses the analysis of every aspect of language. This means when we talk about linguistics, we talk about the analysis of the structure of the sentence, the structure of the word, the structure of the text, and so on, as well as the method for studying and modeling them. The traditional areas of linguistic analysis include phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So here we can understand that linguistics divides into 6 parts. We have phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. And we are going to discuss each one of them. Each of these areas roughly corresponds to phenomena found in human linguistic systems: sounds and gesture in the case of sign languages, minimal units such as morphemes, words, phonemes, phrases and sentences, and meaning and its use. So here we can understand that each term of the branches of linguistics has its system. So when we talk about sounds, means we talk about how people articulate their words, or you can say their sounds. Gestures, when we talk about signs and signals of the language. Minimal units means morphemes, phonemes, and words, means a unit of sounds. And then when we talk about phrases and sentences, we refer to the combination that happens between phrases, clauses, and sentences. And when we talk about meaning, we are talking about the semantic dimensions of the language, or you can say the text or the sentence. Generally speaking, if we want to make a summary about these terms, we can say that sounds combine with each other and they give us morphemes. Morphemes combine with each other and they give us words. Words combine, they give us phrases. Phrases into clauses. Clauses into sentences. Now let's move to talk about the main goal of linguistics. The main goal of linguistics, like all other intellectual disciplines, is to increase our knowledge and understanding of the world. Since language is universal and fundamental to all human interactions, the knowledge attained in linguistics has many practical applications. So here, we can understand that the main objective of linguistics is to understand the interactions of humankind, and to understand their language, their sounds, their words, and so on. So for example, if someone wants to understand a sentence in its grammatical terms, he needs to use syntax in order to understand it and have an understood overview. If he wants to understand its meaning, he needs to understand its semantic dimensions so as to attain this goal. Another aim is to describe and explain the common properties and the structural diversity of the world's language. Which means, if we want to understand a language from its 6 dimensions, which we mentioned before, we need to use these terms in order to have an overview or have the capacity to understand this language. Now let's move to talk about the branches of linguistics that you will have in S4, or you are going to study them. Syntax and morphology are branches of linguistics concerned with the order and structure of meaningful linguistic units such as words and morphemes. This means when we talk about syntax and morphology, we talk about the whole structure of the sentence and the structure of the words. Syntacticians study the rules and constraints that govern how speakers of a language can organize words into sentences. So here we can understand that the main goal of syntactic scholars is to give us the constraints and the rules of how we can arrange or can say organize words into sentences. Morphologists study similar rules for the order of morphemes, subword units such as prefixes and suffixes, and how they may be combined to form words. When we talk about morphologists, we talk about the study of how we can combine sounds to make a word, or how we can form a word. Phonetics and phonology are branches of linguistics concerned with sounds. So here, when we talk about phonetics and phonology, we are talking about the study of sounds, the articulation of sounds, and so on, or the equivalent aspects of sign languages. Phonetics is largely concerned with the physical aspects of sounds such as their articulation. So when we talk about phonetics, we are talking about the acoustics, production, and perception. Phonology, on the other hand, is concerned with the linguistic abstractions and categorization of sounds, which means the category of sounds. Now let's move to see some examples of syntax, morphology, phonetics, and phonology. Here is an example of syntax. Notice the analysis of this sentence. The boy with red shorts kicked the ball. So, the whole structure, we call it sentence. This sentence divides into two parts. We have the NP, which means noun phrase, and then we have VP, which means verb phrase. The first NP divides into two parts. We have NP and PP, which means prepositional phrase. And the NP divide into determiner and noun, which is the head. And the prepositional phrase divides into two parts, preposition and noun phrase. And the noun phrase divides into two terms, or you can say two parts, the adjective, which is the adjunct, and the noun head, which means the shorts. The other side, which is VP, which means verb phrase, divides also into two parts. We have verb, which is kicked, and the second part is the NP, which means noun phrase. And this noun phrase divides into two branches, or two nodes, the determiner, the, and the head noun, ball. So here we can understand that syntax discuss the analysis of the sentence. Here is an example of morphology. So the first structure, we have an adverb which is independently. This adverb divides into two parts. We have the adjective dependent and the affix ly. This adjective also divides into two parts. We have the affix in and then the adjective dependent, which means independent. And then the adjective also divides into two parts. We have the verb depend and the affix ent. And when we combine those elements, we have independently. Another example, which is unreadable. So an, which means not, and it is the affix, this first affix, or you can say the prefix, and then we have read, which is, or read, which is the noun, or you can say the root, and then we have able, which is can be done, which means can be done, and this is the suffix. Now let's move to see the last example of phonetics and phonology. The study of phonology and phonetics is to study of how we articulate and the place of articulation of sounds. For example, nasal cavity, we have also the alveolar ridge, velar, and so on. So in general, when we talk about phonology and phonetics, we are talking about the studying of sounds, how we articulate sounds, where are the places of articulations, where are the places that the sounds comes out from them, and so on. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you understand this initiation to linguistics. If you have any question, just leave it in the comment below and I'll answer you as soon as possible. Thank you so much and see you then.